Welcome to Saturday Smoke Break, the podcast brought to you by Millcreek Cigar Lounge, located at 3723 West 12th Street here in Erie, where great smokes and great conversations come together. I'm your host, Joe Martin, and today's episode is very special. We're rolling local today. We're thrilled to welcome Erie's own Tony Fatica, the man behind Fat Tony Cigars, now proudly featured right here at Millcreek Cigar Lounge. Alongside Tony, we've got our familiar friends, Cigar Dan and Cigar Clark. Let's get into it. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us today.
Happy to be here.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much for having.
Tony, let's start with your story. What inspired you to create your own cigar line?
Well, it goes back, obviously, being of Italian descent. I grew up around cigars. My grandfathers, etc., were cigar smokers, and it was kind of a thing of that era. And I kind of got away from it for a while. And then my oldest son, Anthony, he started smoking cigars with a group of people, and I got back into it pretty heavily. And then I decided, man, I would really, really like to have my own cigar line. And then I decided I'm going to pursue it, but I don't know when. So I kind of shelved the idea. We were established officially in 2016 and probably started the process 5 years prior to that, which was a very difficult process. Coming from a small town in Erie, Pennsylvania, and going to try to locate some rollers for blending some cigars, rolling them. And I had a pretty specific, niche I wanted to be in. So I wanted to create an affordable cigar, but a very premium cigar that everybody could enjoy. I guess the biggest thing about what I wanted to do with this is cigars are made to relax, sit, enjoy time with your friends and family. And it really kind of, makes you sit down and calm down from the craziness of the world and just enjoy, much like a good glass of wine.
Tony, what a great story. Now, so you're an Erie guy. You decide to build this cigar brand. What was the journey like? Can you tell us about that?
As I mentioned previously, it was a very tough journey. I had got a lot of obviously failed attempts at trying to find someone to work with in some of the bigger cigar areas. Not interested in a single guy coming out of Erie, Pennsylvania. I guess they look for the more volume and things of that nature. And I was looking for more of someone that we consider a boutique cigar, something that was a little more special. As I went through this process and many failed attempts, I had talked to a good friend of mine. Her name was Gabriella, and she's no longer in Erie, but she had a very nice cigar shop in town, and I had frequented there. And she said, Tony, one day she said, if you're serious about this, I think I can make some connections for you. So she had put her feelers out for me and made some contacts. And Alec Bradley Cigars, a very well-known cigar company. And I eventually, after being turned down by them, I decided to write an email to, at the time, the owner was Alan Rubin. And I decided to write him a letter, not thinking I was going to get anywhere with it, but I thought, one last ditch effort. Hey, I'm going to write this gentleman no cigars. I was a big fan of Alec Bradley Cigars. And I'll tell you, I was shocked. Within 10 minutes, he called me. And here is this, what I consider a giant in the cigar industry, very knowledgeable, very well liked. And he said, Tony, I could feel the passion in your letter to what you want to do. And he said, it intrigued me. So I'm going to get you some help. And we had went from there, and, there was many conversations from there. And I obviously needed to design a label that I wanted. And he said, tell me a little bit about yourself. And after I did, he personally designed the label for me, my original label. Now it has changed since, but it's very much the same format. So that was kind of the long and short of the story of how it all evolved. And of course, there's a lot we could talk for hours of fill in time in between. But I will say that Alan Rubin was a huge key factor in helping me get started with Fat Tony cigars.
Tony, let's go back to the very first cigar you blended, where it all started. How do you look back on that cigar now?
I have obviously a very high regard for that cigar because it was kind of my baby, my my first blended cigar. And it was a Nicaraguan Gordo, and it was a 6x60, so it was a pretty well sized cigar. And kind of to go along with the Fat Tony's theme, it was a big, fat, rich cigar. Since then, I've kind of changed my theories a little bit, but that was always kind of my being born into the industry. That was my cigar.
Tony, I've learned from doing the show with Cigar Dan and Cigar Clark that every cigar brand has its own DNA. What makes Fat Tony cigars stand out from all the others?
Well, again, I was going for something a little different. Obviously, the image of the cigar and what I thought was just going to be selling locally to some of the cigar shops and some of the direct sales to people and things of that nature. I wanted to create that boutique cigar. I keep using that term, but that's a term in the industry that I really liked because it's got a little bit of personal touch to it then. So anyways, that's kind of where it comes from. As far as tobaccos and things of that nature, I wanted to come up with a very good blend, a very smooth blend. It's a long cut filler. It's a very high quality cigar. And I wanted everybody to be able to enjoy them. I wanted the price point to be where everybody could enjoy this cigar. And I think at this point, we've kind of really honed in on that. And it's a very good smoke. I'm pushing, obviously, the partnership with Millcreek Cigar Lounge is awesome. Pushing the local. When I had my first original website, I sold them actually all over the country. Word of mouth spread from different people would come to Erie. Somebody would refer them. They would try them. And then I would get emails and messages through my website to people I never met from Kansas, from Florida, from one side of the country to the other. And I would receive pictures of them smoking them. And it kind of became like a little niche of how Fat Tony's operates.
What a great story. Cigar Dan, let's pivot to you for a moment. When did you first hear about Fat Tony cigars, and when did you connect with them? What made you want to bring them to Millcreek Cigar Lounge?
So what happened was when we were researching to actually start the Millcreek Cigar Lounge, we were working on the business plan and some documents for the bank, things of that nature. And as part of that, we were doing a search of competitors. I use that word lightly because we're not competitors, but competitors in the area that we may be in competition. And that's when I first came across Fat Tony's website and kind of did a little research and seen what he was doing. And then as we were getting the business up and running in the infancy stage, we had people asking, hey, when you getting Fat Tony? When you getting Fat Tony? And one of the bartenders that works at the Black Monk Brewery, he was a big Fat Tony fan. He's like, you guys have got to get him in here. So we started reaching out to him. Clark started reaching out to him and trying to work with him, get him in here. And that's how I first found out about Fat Tony, that being a local area. Really glad we did. It's been a great partnership and customer response has been amazing. And just it's great to work with Fat Tony. The really nice part about working with Fat Tony is in the cigar world, when you start to run low on cigars, you've got to call a vendor or call a company and get an order done. And there's some paperwork involved and you've got to send it off and then hope the cigars come in. Not with Fat Tony. We just pick up the phone and say, hey, good news, we're running low. do me a favor and bring me a bundle of this and bundle of that. And more often than not, if not the same day, within 24 hours, we're a restock. So it's great.
Let me throw something in here too. One of the things that really impressed me about Tony, when we first started the lounge and we're getting up and running, I mean, it's not like you just kind of run down a list of, oh, let's grab this cigar, let's grab that cigar. We put a lot of thought and a lot of time into it. We're real careful with the blends that we have, the brands that we have. And one of the things that we did was when Tony came in and we sampled his cigars, trying to decide, is this a partnership we want to do? Highly impressed. The quality of Tony's cigars are pretty high. Honestly, when you buy from a local roller or a local manufacturer, it's kind of a hit and miss. Sometimes they're okay, and sometimes, well, I guess that was an ill-spent $5 or $6. But with Tony, his cigars are phenomenal. We really love the profiles, the flavors, everything about the cigar is just amazing. And they are a huge addition to our humidor. We just love having them in here.
Tony, Cigar Clark just gave us the perfect segue into the next question. Can you walk us through your current lineup? What types of cigars are in the Fat Tony's portfolio?
Okay, well, as of now, I broke it down into 3 segments for now. We have a lighter blend cigar, which is deemed the Primo, and it's a light shade-grown wrapper. It creates a golden tan color, and it's made with custom blended tobaccos in small batches, which offers a smooth, mild draw, somewhat of a woodsy smoke. They all have great aroma, but I do like the aroma of that. The first one that I blended for this, I wasn't a big fan of, but a lot of other people were. And when I took a chance reblending this one, and it did pay off, I rolled the dice, but it worked out. And to me, it's even a better cigar, and I really enjoy it now. The next lineup, I guess, would be what we call the Capo, C-A-P-O. It's the Capo. And that's kind of originated, that blend has changed a little bit as well. That's kind of originated from that favorite cigar we talked about earlier in the broadcast. And it's a sun-grown wrapper, rich dark color, made with, again, custom blended tobaccos, very smooth draw. It's a little more robust. It's satisfying, but not overpowering, if I could use that terminology. It's a very good medium blended cigar. And then last, I blended a Maduro, which is a very dark, rich cigar, a well-fermented wrapper on the outside of the cigar. It has a slight note of peppery blend to it, but again, it's not overpowering on the palate when you smoke it. It still has a smoothness to it. So I'm very happy. These are the 3 blends I have right now, the Primo, the Capo, and the Gangster. And it kind of falls in the category of light, a medium, and a dark, a more bold cigar. Nice earthy aroma on that dark one. And I think that kind of covers the palate without getting into too many cigars. And then I offer several different sizes, and there's more sizes coming out in the near future here. So there'll be even more to offer.
You're listening to the Saturday Smoke Break, presented by Millcreek Cigar Lounge, 3723 West 12th Street, right here in Erie. We're joined by Tony Fatica, founder of Fat Tony Cigars and the owners of Millcreek Cigar Lounge, Cigar Dan, and Cigar Clark. Tony, do you have a favorite in your own line, or does it change depending on the day?
It does definitely change, actually, upon the day and the time of day. Some people term it as a breakfast cigar. Somebody's going to have a breakfast cigar. If I do it, I have the Primo, the light blended one. It's very smooth. Some people enjoy coffee with a cigar. It's a great pair up with that. I obviously smoke all 3 of them. It just depends on the mood and the time of day. If you're going to go for that Gangster, that Maduro, you definitely want to do that on a full stomach. You want to eat something before that one. It's got a little more boldness to it. But for my everyday all-purpose one, I'm going to say the Capo. The Capo is a nice go-to, medium blended. It's smooth and not overpowering, but still has that little bit of kick to it to let you know that you're smoking something.
Cigar Dan and Cigar Clark, which Fat Tony cigars are currently available at the Millcreek Cigar Lounge? And how have customers responded? I think you referred to it, Dan, already, saying that it's been amazing.
Yeah, it really, really has been really amazing. And we carry all three of the cigars that Tony has talked about, the Primo, the Capo, and the Gangster. One of the advantages that has helped us is Fat Tony really has a following in the area. So that has brought us some new people to meet, some new friends to meet. And the really interesting part about having Fat Tony is when you travel, me personally, I'll travel, I go different places from time to time. I can get the same cigar pretty much anywhere I go if you want to. You don't do that when you travel. You want something that is specific to the area. And the same holds true here. We have people coming from out of town, a couple from Canada. They come down and they're looking at the humidor. And I say, hey, if you've never been here before and you're not familiar with Erie, try a Fat Tony. And that's an excitement for us. It's something really nice to have something different taste for your palate. So it's really, really great to have somebody local from the Erie area and then putting out an amazing product. And his product is amazing. I love his stuff.
I got to echo what Dan was saying too, in that I love introducing people to the Fat Tony line. That's one of the cigars I push every time someone comes in, that they can try it and check it and see for themselves. But everybody has been pleased with it that I've talked to.
And Tony, for anyone listening who hasn't tried Fat Tony's yet, what is the best one that you recommend to start with?
Well, that's a great question. Always ask if I'm doing an event or if I'm at the cigar lounge and somebody would ask me that question. I would first probably ask them, what stage in cigar smoking are you? If you're a fairly new smoker and you enjoy the lighter cigars because you don't want to overindulge, I would probably always steer them towards the Primo, the natural wrapper, the lighter one. For the more advanced smokers that like the dark, rich, bold, I'm going to definitely go to that Gangster. But the Capo, if you're an occasional smoker and you enjoy a nice, smooth cigar that, again, has great flavor, but it's not overpowering, that Capo is a great cigar, even if you're going on the golf course. And everybody has their favorites, everybody has a different taste. And going back to my original light cigar, when I had said I wasn't a big fan of it, but actually my wife had told me, she said, you're getting a great response from it. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't like it. And she was correct. You try to get out there to everybody's palate, and not everybody's palate is the same. That was a learning curve for me. And now with these new blends, I'm a big fan of all three of them. I think I finally nailed it, and I'm very happy with them. I would say that it just depends on what is your cigar, what is your go-to cigar, and then kind of go off that information and steer them in hopefully the right direction.
Dan and Clark, what is your favorite pairing with a Fat Tony cigar?
As Tony talked about, it's the time of day and what's going on, but I have access to a whole bunch of cigars, obviously, just like Clark does. I have all three of Tony's at the house. I love having his stuff at the house just for my personal use. Same thing, it depends on the time of day. In the morning, on a weekend when I'm free and I can really enjoy the cigar in the start of the day, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to grab his Capo. It works out so well. The Capo, I'm going to grab a scotch. It's a personal thing, but I like the way the scotch and the Capo goes together. They just
Mhm.
blend really, really well. And then in the evening, and there's days that honestly, I'm not saying this because Tony's on the line. There's days that I'll be doing something going, man, when I get home, it's going to be a gangster night. I need a gangster. And it's really, it's a good problem to have sometime. But I want a
Yeah.
glass of bourbon. I want a gangster. Leave me alone. Let me decompress. I'm in my happy space.
Yes,
And that's all I need.
I
Cigar
agree.
Clark?
You know what? It's the same thing with me. The Primo with a cup of coffee is outstanding. The Capo for me, I usually go with that with like an amber beer. And then the Gangster, I usually either go with a stout or a little bit of a heavier bourbon. But that's the direction that I like to go with the three.
And before we wrap up, Tony, obviously, thank you so much for your time, as well as Cigar Clark and Cigar Dan today. Today's been a lot of fun. Where can people find out more about your cigars outside of the Millcreek Cigar Lounge?
At this point, I do not have a current website up. I'm working on a new one because I wanted to roll out something a little more user friendly and, with all the upgrades on technology. So I'm still working on that, but I would urge people that want to learn more about the cigars to get a hold of Cigar Clark or Cigar Dan at the Millcreek Cigar Lounge, and they can give my personal information out, and then you can actually get a hold of me directly. I would like to steer everybody in that direction first to Millcreek Cigar Lounge, and then we can go from there and they can talk to me directly.
Let's go to Dan. Can you tell us about the upcoming events you have?
Yeah, I love to. So tomorrow, some of us will be out at the Riverside Brewing Company from 3 to 10. They're having their Oktoberfest. We'll be on site. They're going to have some live music. There's going to be a magic show going on. It should be a fun day for everybody, to include the kids. But we'll be out there from 3 to 10, having our product available for folks. We've had a really good time before with Riverside Brewing Company, and we're looking forward to that. Tomorrow, we also have Ron coming up. He's our 1502 rep. He'll be out here. We'll be doing an in-store event. We'll have different specials going on, deals going on. We'll be providing food, so that'll be a good day. That starts at 12 to 1 for our locker members, and then 1 to 5 for the general public. And as always, there's no membership fee. There is a ticket to get in, but then you get a cigar and some food with it, so it should be a good day. And then Wednesday, October 29th, we'll be back at Lake City. We've partnered up with Twisted Elk Brewery. They're having a nice event over there with the local fire department. It should be a really good event, really fun event. Hopefully the weather keeps holding out the way it's been holding out. We'll be good to go there. We have started a new item here at the shop. We're doing some specially banded cigars. We just recently had a customer had a grandchild, and instead of getting a cigar that said it's a boy, it's a girl, we were able to put the name of the child and the date of the birth date on there. So that's something people are interested in. It's a service we provide, and I think it's been working out pretty well. We do have some pipe products and items now in the store, and we just came up with a whole bunch of new lighters and cutters and cigar tools and ashtrays that are now for sale. So we are building up and working out real well at Millcreek.
Gentlemen, thank you again for your time today. This has been a pleasure. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Joe.
That's all the time we have for this week's Saturday Smoke Break. Huge thanks to our guest again, Tony Fatica, the owner and founder of Fat Tony Cigars, for joining us and sharing his passion for cigars. Remember, you can try Fat Tony's right here in Erie at Millcreek Cigar Lounge, 3723 West 12th Street. Until next time, I'm Joe Martin, reminding you, life's too short for bad cigars. Stay smoky, friends.
Surgeon General warning: cigars are not a safe alternative to cigarettes.